Hey, DTA Nation, with the spring season right around the corner, that means it's time to start planning those grad parties. Old Southern Barbecue has great catering options for your senior. You can go with the barbecue staples like wings, ribs, or barbecue sandwich sliders, but they even have an incredible mac and cheese bar option as well. Congrats to all the seniors from DTA and OSB as you head into the final chapter, and go to oldsoutherncatering.com to get your grad party planning underway. And make sure to tell them that DTA sent you. Are you looking for a dedicated partner for your lacrosse needs? ES Lacrosse has got you covered. If you're brand new to the game, a seasoned vet, or a dedicated lacrosse parent, ES Lacrosse is the go-to partner for Minnesota Lacrosse and DTA Nation. Whether you need new gear, a restringing of your current setup, custom uniforms or apparel for your team, or one of their awesome starter sets for your brand new lacrosse player, the selection, expertise, and service at ES Lacrosse is unmatched. You can visit them in-store at one of their 3 metro locations in Woodbury, Chanhassen, and Vadnais Heights, or visit them online at eslacrosse.com.
And welcome to Down the Alley. This is PMAC.
And Ted T.S. Spirides.
And public enemy number 1, Mr. Official, Jeremy Goltz.
Happy Thursday, happy rain out day, post-Masters week, NHL playoffs around the corner. A lot happening, a lot to dive into. I think we're going to avoid household incomes and property values. But how's everybody's week going? Where's our energy level at right now?
Energy level's pretty high right now. Today was my Friday. So at school we get tomorrow and the Monday.
Funny story. I didn't know I had tomorrow off until Monday. Like the boys were talking about in the office. I was like, oh, we have Friday off. Fire me up. Like, only good news I've had all week.
Love it. Just like the fact that I can just not have a bedtime on Thursday is kind of nice. Yeah, little disappointed. Was looking to get to some games. I was actually going to go to the Chanhassen game against Prior Lake today and enjoy the concessions. So a little bit bummed out about that, but nonetheless.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that later here. I don't want to pop the can open too early. Ted, what's going on in your world this week?
Yeah, good. It's we had a weird kind of schedule to start the year. I don't know if it's weird, but it's new to, I guess, my schedule of high school coaching, where we had, our first week of tryouts and all that stuff, our scrimmages, and then we had a Friday night game last week, and we have a Friday night game this week. I know we're chomping at the bit to get back in game action tomorrow night. But other than that, routine week, which is good. But yeah. So, last week we kind of kicked everything off, and we had a couple scores coming in late, kind of while we were podcasting, but majority of the season had not started yet. This week we finally get to talk about real games. We had, Thursday was a week ago as of this recording was the season opener. And we had a ton of games on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then obviously through this week we've had a bunch of games as well. Couple surprises, I expected that. But we'll start on the girls' side. I think some interesting thoughts around maybe some preseason rankings. And I think a couple teams took care of business but overall there was a ton of competitive games in what I would call the top 10, and maybe some upsets, but kind of starting the first, the first night.
We looking at girls first?
You're looking at girls.
Couple close ones. Lakeville North, Mankato. I think that's a section situation for your guys' section. That was a 1-goal game. Lakeville North, I don't know how they've stacked up against Mankato in the past. I feel like Lakeville North is kind of trending up. Mankato staying in it, I feel like that's a good, again, gut feel. I don't follow that section as close as maybe others for girls lacrosse, but Mankato keeping it close. I feel like that's a that's a good situation for them.
Yeah, I think this score came in late or during our episode last week, and we kind of touched on it, but I did get some insight on this game. I guess Mankato was up 7-6 with like 10 or 15 seconds left in the game, and North got the tie, got the equalizer, and then won it in overtime. So shout out to them for that. I think Goltz and I touched on most of these games from Thursday, but
Okay.
let's bump to Friday. I think there's a couple interesting games on Friday, kind of kicking the day off. Farmington Southwest Christian, two teams that are in the same section. I think coaches know each other, or players. There's some players that know each other on this between both teams. I know Brooke. We had her on during section 1 week, and she was very excited about this matchup. Southwest Christian's been trending in the right direction.
Yep.
And Farmington prevails 12-9. Unfortunately, superstar player Gisela Harder went down with a knee injury, and I think it was season ending. I don't have confirmation on that, but really devastating news for her. And we are thinking about her, and hopefully that she gets back on the field. I know she's got a bright future ahead. So that was kind of like a weird, I guess, like, when you have like a severe injury in a game, it kind of like kills the flow and everything's kind of weird for a while. But it was pretty back and forth. I caught a little bit of it because I was there. They played prior to the boys. And it was pretty competitive back and forth, even after that injury. It was close the whole way. So shout out to both teams. I think both teams are going to have successful years this year.
I love seeing St. Croix Prep, my hedge fund, come out and just fill the back of the net. Their stock is the only one rising. Right now.
Yeah. And then Cretan Durham Hall, last year's Section 3 champions, played Buffalo, a team that a lot of people are high on this year. Maybe I don't know if they're favorites in Section 8 or if they're contenders, but they're definitely high in Section 8.
There's been noise around Bison Boulevard, especially on the girls' side.
Yeah, competitive game, 11-8. It looks like it was a 7-6 game going into the fourth quarter, ended up 11-8. Jordan Rozga, 6 goals, 1 assist, 7 points. We know her. We talked about her in the preseason. We expected her to kind of carry the offense for Cretan, and she did in this game. But Danica Eng for Buffalo, 5 goals and an assist, 6 points. So they had a match for Jordan. That Danica on the Buffalo side had a pretty nice game as well. So I would not be surprised. Now, I would not be surprised if these two teams, are rising up the ranks as we continue to move forward. Really competitive game. And Carolyn LeClaire, the goalie for Cretan, 13 saves on 21 shots. That's a 61.9% save percentage. Good day for her between the pipes.
Kind of sandwiching Friday and Saturday together. Moorhead, their shooting room that they put together is paying off, scoring goals, winning games on the road, as Moorhead always does. Couple of nice wins on their road trip.
Yep, no doubt. They came down and took care of business. As you said, going into Saturday, a couple really interesting games on Saturday. One that we kind of previewed, this Minnetonka Maple Grove game. Two teams that were in the top 10 last year. I think preseason were in the top 10 for the girls' side. Minnetonka winning 8-4, a little bit lower scoring game. And so that's a quality win for Minnetonka right out.
Yes.
They have high hopes this year. They consolation champs last year. And, I think they're ready to return to state and maybe, get into that winner's bracket and make some noise. Proving it early against Maple Grove, kind of a meat grinder game.
Didn't have eyes on that one, just kind of going off the score. Maple Grove, were they our favorite for Section 5 on the girls' side? They are definitely in the
I believe
mix.
so. I believe they were the clean sweep favorites for Section 5. I'm going to pull it up right
And
now.
I don't think a 4-8 loss against Tonka makes me worried yet.
Correct.
Um, Tight meat grinder game early in the season, but definitely something to keep tabs on. I think Maple Grove still has a chance to win Section 5.
Yeah, they were preseason unanimous preseason number one for us. So yeah, we'll see how they respond to that. Love seeing some of these really big early season out of conference matchups, like competitive matchups, between, on the boys and the girls side, but girls seem to have a couple good ones here, kind of leading me to the next game, this Prior Lake Stillwater matchup. Prior Lake preseason number one in literally everything.
Yeah.
So there's high hopes there. They got most of their team back. They were runner up last year. Kind of as Katie has mentioned, the game against Stillwater is usually like a season kickoff game. They've been doing that for years. 11-6 Prior Lake prevails. I didn't see the game, but I'm sure that one was a competitive one. At pretty much all the way through, and I expect Stillwater to be a top team again this year as well.
Yeah, I do have a source, pretty close source, and talked a little bit about that game. Didn't have eyes on it as I was at my own game, pretty much at the same exact time. Sounds like it was a meat grinder, especially I think through the first half, maybe even the third quarter. Back and forth, back and forth. I think Prior Lake pulled a little bit away. Again, 5 goal game. That's not like a necessarily a blowout by any means, but they were able to pull away at least a little bit here, secure the season opener, and come out with a W. But Stillwater, I think clearly not going anywhere, gonna be in the mix, gonna be in the conversation all season long.
Yeah, and then another one that I guess kind of piqued my interest, Bloomington Jefferson versus Rosemount. I feel like we were high on Bloomington Jefferson girls. They're trending in the right direction. Rosemount, we knew they've been a strong program for years, but we didn't really know. I think last year was maybe like kind of what they would consider a down year for them. And they came out 14-8 winners over Jefferson. So Rosemount might be back. And a nice performance against a solid Bloomington Jefferson team. And I thought that game was going to be closer. So shout out to Rosemount. They made a statement.
Yeah, I think Rosemount has a team. We'll talk about the boys too. I think the Irish lacrosse right now is rising in a cold stock market. So that says a lot. That says a lot. So for the girls at the time of this recording, they play tomorrow night against Orono. If they beat Orono, which I think they will, I think that I think people are going to be less shocked about each upcoming win, assuming they beat Orono tomorrow. I think it's going to become more normal seeing the Irish. It's going to be less of a surprise. I think the Irish have a team.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Bumping into Monday, a couple interesting games. Just gotta look here. So Maple, just to touch on Maple Grove, they beat Osseo Park Center 18-6. So I think they responded there. Um, Elk River Zimmerman, a team that we've talked about a lot, played Rogers, a team that I think maybe kind of dark horse a little bit for us. Elk River Zimmerman wins 11-4, so took care of business there. Um, Benilde Blake, big rivalry game. That game was 8-7, close one there.
I saw these two scrimmage actually preseason, and I was like, they're kind of good in different areas of the field.
Sure.
And in the scrimmage, I'm like, this could be a close game. And I didn't realize they were playing right off the hop here. Obviously ends up being a really close game, 1 goal game. I've got a source out of Holy Angels Farmington game. Uh, Holy Angels, I think keeping this one closer than maybe anyone would expect. I'm not surprised. They've got great leadership over there. They've been getting better and better every year. I I I heard this one got maybe a little feisty. I heard this one, the Tigers were Tigers don't bark. They do they growl? Do they snarl? What do tigers do?
I think they purr, aren't they? They're cats.
Okay, so I heard the Tigers were purring a little bit.
Or do they roar? Katy Perry got the eye of the tiger. You're gonna hear me roar.
Do they roar like Katie
Roar.
did?
Tigers roar for sure.
Tigers roar. Okay, so I heard the Tigers were roaring a little bit, and I heard the Tigers stalled the basically entire fourth quarter. Goltz, I think you might actually love that.
Love that. I actually do. It's a great rule or great strategy to use given the girls' rule book. I have to refresh my brain on it a little bit, but yeah, I mean, if you're up in girls lacrosse, like there's no rule to get it across the half. What do you have? 10 seconds in the crease
It
for
sounds right.
goalies?
Sounds right.
Like 10 seconds in the crease, you can go in and out too.
Correct.
So it's like if I'm up and like I don't want to give the other team the ball, I'm giving the ball to the goalie and going in and out of the crease. I'm holding onto the ball. I'm doing whatever. And this is why we need a shot clock. But until they get that, and I'm a girls lacrosse coach, I'm stalling.
Hey, I hear you on that. Like if you're by the rule book schematic, Lee, hey, you came out with the win. Great. I'm looking at it as, and no disrespect to Holy Angels, I'm related to the coaching staff. If I'm Farmington, if I'm worried about Holy Angels and I want to be a competitor in the section, I want to make runs, I want to, do the things that I assume are being talked about, within that team, that community. I should not feel the need to stall ball against Holy Angels in early April. I'll leave it at that. Another score that caught my eye: Wayzata Orono.
I think that was the game of the night. I think. Orono, a lot of noise coming out of Orono. And this was the one I think that made the most noise. I'm trying to find the recap, but I cannot find it in my email to save my life. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I got not a ton more to add other than Orono, a team that was talked about quite a bit in the preseason. Sources talking them up. They have a stud that we talked about after the scrimmages. They have a couple of really good players for sure. So I don't know if this was more of a surprise just on the Wayzata side. Maybe this says more about Wayzata than Orono. I'm not sure. Maybe if we have a write up, great. Would love to hear more about it.
Yeah. Stealing right from Mrs. PMAC's source here off the blog. The Trojans exploding in the second with 6 goals. Started to rain in the third quarter. Live stream looked blurry in the fourth. But yeah, so maybe the Trojan just came out hot, or no, just wasn't able to get it back.
Yeah, I mean, Orono, I think they've been a team that's been scoring 15, 16 goals a game for the last, I mean, at least for last year, maybe the last 2 years. And Layla Nick, who's kind of one of their superstars, she had 6 goals in the game. But she didn't have 15 points or whatever where she does sometimes. I think they maybe were able. Shout out to Wayzata for saying all right, we'll let you score, but you're not going to be able to create for others. And they kept them to 11, which is still a lot in I guess maybe based on defensive metrics that you're trying to stay on. But if you can hold Orono to 11, you give yourself a chance to win the game. Wayzata did that. Maybe weather was an equalizer, but it sounds like Wayzata came to play. Shout out to their social media team because I posted we have an upset, and they said maybe it's an upset to you, but not to us. So,
Oh,
hey, touche. Go out and
Don't
prove.
call it a comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. Don't. Hey, if you go out and prove it, you can talk. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on the boys' side as well. But shout out to the Trojans, big win for them early in the season. As they, continue, as they kick things off. That should be that's a big like kind of springboard for them to kick things off with such a big win early.
looking at Tuesday, to be honest, a lot of blowout games, kind of up and down that slate. One thing that caught my eye though, Gentry. Haven't heard a lot about Gentry. I honestly didn't know if they had a team still. There are different rumors flying around. Gentry looks like they have a team. Looks like they're playing lacrosse this year. And per usual, as Gentry does, filled the back of the net a ton.
Yeah, I think they're always a team that they bring the offense. They score a lot of goals. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if they're a top team, in Section 4 again this year.
Looking to Wednesday, couple scores caught my eye. The first one, Andover 7, a team that's been in the mix on our radar. However, they only win by 1 to Blaine. What's up in Blaine? Is Blaine do we need to start paying attention?
Blaine was the team we talked about that had like no seniors and like all like juniors returning, and like that they may be sneaky good this year. And I think they are. I think they're for real. Andover, a team that's been good for a while, got the best of them, and we're able to kind of fend them off. But I'm Blaine could be the Blaine girls could be a squad this year.
I no, love to hear it. Love to hear it. And my hedge fund. Again, I don't know if this is bullish, bearish, a 1 goal loss to Matamidi. I feel like right out of conference game, hanging in there with maybe that next tier fund. I don't know what that is, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, they seem to be rolling, and yeah.
Look into tonight. I don't even know. Looks like most of the games postponed. Couple scores in. Chaska Delano 6-5. Chaska squeezes out the win.
Overtime looks like.
In overtime.
Yeah. Don't have any eyes on this game. Didn't get any recap, but kind of a battle. Defensive battle, as Goltz would say.
Oh, love those.
Should probably kick it over to the boys. A lot of games, a lot of storylines. We could probably take this in a few different directions. I don't care where we start. Ted Goltz, up to you. Where do we want to go?
Let me pull up the schedule here quick so I can see.
Let's
But
uh let's start on Friday. Mainly because I think we talked about some of the games already from Thursday that were coming in. No surprises to me on Thursday. But Friday, Farmington got their season started, so that was fun. So I didn't really have any eyes on any of the games, but this Hill Murray Eastview game is always a game that is usually an early season matchup that they play. 12-10, pretty close game. I think we had Hill Murray on the show for Section 4. We had Merrick. He's high on his team this year. Eastview's always a tough squad. So competitive game between those two.
Yeah, I think that's a quality win for Hill Murray. Sorry to cut you off. I think that's a quality win for Hill Murray. I was pretty bullish on Eastview coming in as they returned one of their studs off of injury. I think we'll talk more about Eastview in a little bit, but I think that's a pretty good win for Hill.
Yeah,
Goltz.
I agree. I think Hill Murray's on the rise. Merrick's got a good staff there. Definitely doing a lot to build that program. So wouldn't be surprised to see them continue this upward trend.
Yeah. Heading to Saturday, um, I think the big event of the weekend was the East-West showdown in White Bear Lake. Just want to say shout out to White Bear Lake, Lacrosse, and all their volunteers and the people that ran that event. Great facilities, great event. Um, you know, tons of great games over the course of the day. A lot of teams getting to play, so super cool thing that they do. And kind of tip of the cap to them for pulling that off. It started early. It started at 9:30 in the morning. Edina and Woodbury and Matamidi and Maple Grove. I'll start with Matamidi and Maple Grove. The Zephyrs prevail 12-8. I will be honest, I thought Maple Grove was going to win that game. So shout out to the Zephyrs for coming ready to play and getting a big win against Maple Grove early in the morning.
I think we talked about that game Thursday night, or last podcast. Preview. I had Maple Grove as well. And based on our conversations, I thought Maple Grove was going to come out of that one with the win. Matamidi, I don't know if they listened. I don't know if they heard. They shoved that one, right up our butts.
Right.
Yeah, I think Maple Grove had a little bit of a dose of what maybe PMAC had thought Edina had. Maybe Maple Grove was the team that struggled getting out of bed and the long travel over.
We did talk about travel. We did talk about travel being a factor. Maple Grove had a long ride.
We did talk about, yeah.
So that could have been a factor. We talked about Edina. They heard the noise. It was 4-3 at the end of the first quarter, so they didn't come out of the gates firing. But Coach Clem, he texted us. He said he got nitro for the water bottles, and that turns things around. Edina flipped a switch, and they blew out Woodbury, which was surprising to me. 18-5, the offense clicking on all cylinders, as you like to say, PMAC. They were finding the back of the net often in that game.
Not early. They weren't finding it early, according to sources. But hey, I'm glad they came around. I sorry if I offended anybody. I think most people got the joke. It was a 9:30. I don't want to be playing a game at 9:30. That's early. So I think most people
on a Saturday. Yeah,
any day that ends in Y. 9:30 in the morning for a game is early. The coaches need their coffees. The players definitely do. You got to make sure your alarms work. Look, I could have said the same thing about Maple Grove and Mott. I get they're the first one on the list. It's early.
I'm gonna say it because he told me to say it to you personally.
Say it to me.
Andy Lee was upset about the comments, and he wanted me to let you know that they were up and they were ready to go, and I think we can see that in the score here.
Yep.
I think a lot of people know that Edina's got a pretty powerful squad, and I think the expectation was for Edina to win this game. And I don't think the expectation was for them to come and blow the doors off of Woodbury 18-5. So, but also, just I think took it as a chance to showcase what they're made of this year.
Hey,
so,
and as he should.
Yeah. Bumping to another game we talked about, Rosemount Jefferson. We thought, Goltz thought that maybe this would be a low scoring game, but I think we agreed with them.
Hit the over.
It definitely hit the over.
Mine was set really low. The over hit. Rosemount wins 11-6. Nice win, early season win for them. We've talked about Rosemount that this might be kind of a comeback year for them because they had a nice young squad last year, maybe on the younger end. Now they get a lot of those guys back. Big win for them early against a quality Jefferson team.
Yeah, they we didn't talk about their game against Owatonna, but they really did some damage there, and Owatonna put up 17 goals. Now they're putting up double digits against Jefferson, which would is traditionally been a defensive battle. So
Yep.
we'll see here. Rosemount's definitely maybe they were upset they weren't in the top 10. Now they're back in the top 10, and I think they're so far proven that they belong there.
Yeah, I thought maybe Rosemount was a year away. I could be wrong. I could be wrong on this. Like I said with the girls, I think they're trending clearly in the right direction. They're going to be more and more in the conversations. Watch out because they're young too. So if they're winning games this year, they're not going away anytime soon.
Yeah. Um, Kind of bumping to later in the day. Irondale wins over Moorhead 6-5 in overtime. I believe it was in overtime. Maybe it wasn't. It doesn't say OT. I thought I heard that, but um, had some people that had eyes on this game said Irondale. They just play hard. They're passionate. They're gritty. They just
Don't
went.
they love playing for Irondale?
That's what Merrick said when he was on the podcast. He said Irondale kids love playing for Irondale. There's a ton of pride there. They got a couple guys that can play. Moorhead obviously has been a top team in Section 8 for the last whatever since they started their program, basically. And so they had nice win for Irondale. It sounds like it was a competitive, exciting game.
Yeah, shout out to Irondale. I know that they have been. I mean, that's been a program that's been a process. I mean, they've been building throughout the years. They've been making some noise, and they just keep seeming to keep pounding the rock and getting better and better
Yeah.
year to year. And yeah, they are a proud bunch that's proud to be from Irondale. They embrace kind of that underdog mentality, and it's like, yeah, you might be better at lacrosse than us today, but we're gonna make you hurt by the end of the game. And so yeah, you come out, you play hard, um, you're gonna get some victories. And so shout out to them. Good victory over Moorhead.
Yeah. Um, a game that kind of that I was personally at, Eden Prairie Eastridge, was excited about this one, and it did not disappoint. 9-8, Eden Prairie over Eastridge. Um, Eden Prairie jumped out early. I think they were up 7-3 at one point, maybe at the end of the half or like mid third quarter. And Eastridge just started clawing back one at a time, kind of gained momentum and made it a game. I think it was 8-8. Eden Prairie got one with a couple minutes left. Eastridge had a chance to tie, but the Eden Prairie goalie shut the door with a pretty nice low save on a quality shot. They got the clear and then ran out the clock. So I thought both teams looked great. Have a lot of athletes, a lot of good players. It was a well played game. As a just a fan being there, I thought it was an exciting game, and it was entertaining for me.
Yeah, I didn't watch. I wasn't there live, but I watched the film of it, afterwards, to prepare for our Eden Prairie game. Yeah, look like two solid teams. I think two teams that are going to be in conversations, throughout the year, for regular season games, their respective sections. So, yeah, it was barn burner.
Yeah. And then I stayed for about 3/4 of the Stillwater Minnetonka game after.
Was
They,
this the game of the day?
this was probably the game of the
Going into it, at least.
at least with like preseason rankings and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Um, Stillwater, I think a lot of talk about them. We've talked at kind of ad nauseum about them being kind of maybe a top three, maybe a state contender this year. And Minnetonka is a team that had their ups and downs last year, but got a lot of guys back, so they're maybe kind of on the trend up. Stillwater jumped on them early. I think it kind of took Minnetonka off guard a little bit. But tip of the cap to the Skippers. They made adjustments. They hung in there. It ended up being a close 9-7 game. Stillwater. I expect, again, kind of like the last two teams we talked about, I expect these two teams to be in the mix the entire season.
Yeah, absolutely. Stillwater, I will be honest, this game I've been very high on Stillwater. I thought Stillwater was going to come out and be a little bit more explosive. I granted this is their first game and it looked like maybe there was some rust that needed to be knocked off, but the way that they moved on offense was definitely something that I thought kind of set them apart. You watch like stuff on the backside, and people were open. They may have not like connected on the passes and whatnot, but they were able to get the defense moving and create some big seams and big holes in the defense that I saw to be able to get some of those opportunities, and it looked like they just weren't able to connect on some of them. So I'm still pretty high on Stillwater. They're the skill that they have on the offensive end is so high. Their goalie phenomenal. I mean, I genuinely think if you have just anyone else's goalie in that game, I think Tonka walks away with a victory there. And it's not like Stillwater's defense played bad, but it's like he was making some pretty crazy saves
And
in
I
that game.
actually I actually will echo that a little bit and say, I mean, he played very well. The Minnetonka goalie like hung in there, especially in the first half. I think the fact that it was only like it must have been like 6-2 or something at halftime.
Yeah,
It could have been 12-2. The Tonka goalie was just getting peppered, and he hung in there. He kept them in the game, and then that allowed them to make those adjustments at halftime and kind of stay in the game. So shout out to the Tonka goalie because I think we all know the Stillwater goalie, but the Tonka goalie rose up and played great in that game as well.
yeah, and then I just like Tonka's offense looks legit. Like they can play in transition, they can play in 6-on-6, they can play in man up. Still, I mean, not like super young, but still like, some young kids on the offense. Not quite as experienced as the Stillwater squad. And this score last year was a significantly
Yeah.
greater margin. So we're clearly seeing a lot of progress made by Minnetonka, and 2 goals is something that they could easily make up in 6 weeks of a season. So yeah, these two teams are going to be fun to watch throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah. Looking into Monday, couple games that stood out. I didn't watch these, but Centennial, a 12-11 win against Blaine, so that's a fun one. Um, I think Centennial and Blaine are both teams that have had success in Section 7. They see each other every year. Good battle there. But a game that shocked me, um, Osseo Park Center a 12-10 or a 10-12 loss to Maple Grove. Um,
This got the Discord going. I think this kicked off the energy of the Discord this week. I think it started here.
Maple Grove gets the win. Osseo Park Center is 0-3, but last year they were 1-13 and they lost to Maple Grove. I'm just gonna pull it up here. 18-0. They lost to Maple Grove 18-0. And it was 10, no, 9-9, I think, like mid third or mid fourth quarter on the stream. So yes, they didn't win. Maple Grove prevails, but tip of the cap to Osseo Park Center. That is a huge turnaround. When I saw the score, I couldn't believe it, and just again, that's just tip of the cap. That's awesome for them.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to see them having success, making big games close, early here. Hopefully, that's indicator, right? What's to come for them this season.
Yeah. Tuesday, 23 games on the slate. A big night. Um, just kind of looking through, there weren't a ton of close games. But Prior Lake, Eden Prairie, PMAC, maybe your thoughts on that if you want. That was probably the best game of the night. Other than that, there was some pretty one-sided victories across the board.
Yeah, no, Prior Lake EP always, um, always a good game, right? It's never going to be a blowout. Two teams that have, ran into each other at various key moments, sections, state, when they weren't in the same section, etc. So these two teams, two staffs know each other very well, and it made for a classic. Another classic. Two overtimes before this one could be decided. I think this is probably in Goltz's category of a defensive battle. Two defenses that really didn't give up an inch. I like I said, I watched that Eastridge game very closely. They've got four players for sure that you have to have a plan for, that you've got to key in on and be ready for. And that's just on the offensive side of the ball. Everyone's been talking about their defense. Their goalie was better than I thought going in, to be honest with you. So props to their keeper. He was making some big saves, and their pulls, obviously mutants. And they had a great game plan too going into it. So props to them. 6-5 double OT, and it's probably a team, if you're a betting man, that we'll run into again. So they're a team. They're a team that's built for playoffs. Like I think most coaches will understand what I mean when I say that. Like, oh, only putting up 6 goals in a regular season game. Like, yeah, fine, it's early April. They're a staff that is only going to get that team continued going in the right direction, and they clearly have the infrastructure when it does come late May, early June. They're going to be able to do damage.
Yeah, no doubt. Goltz, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I did watch that game. It was a defensive battle. Both defenses did not budge. There was very minimal sliding going on in that game, as far as what I could see. And so I think that was, I mean, props to the defense for not getting beat to let the slides, or to avoid sliding. But then that, I think that also, I mean, the goalies, both goalies I thought were playing pretty lights out, saving some pretty good shots. Um, yeah. So, I mean, both teams, if you could, I guess you got to try to penetrate that defense, get them to slide, which is going to be a tough task to do. Both teams have a good core of poles, athletic poles. Both teams have good goalies. And yeah, like PMAX said, that team is playoff ready. Ward I mean, he really understands how to coach in those scenarios. When it's 1-1, it's like he's probably not worried, he's probably not stressed. He just knows like what we need to do to win, to get out of here with a victory. But definitely like to see some more goals scored. But good defensive battle.
Another 1-goal game. Cretin Durham Hall beats Irondale 11-10. So Irondale on the losing end of a 1-goal game. That seems like it was a fun one. And Chaska 13-12 over Hopkins St. Louis Park. I watched a little bit of this. It was 12-8 Chaska with like a minute 40 left, and I'm like, all right, it's over. And it ended 13-12. So shouldn't have turned it off. And it ended up being a really close game, but yeah, that one was an interesting one. But other than that, quite a few of blowouts. Do want to shout out Bloomington Kennedy Burnsville at 3-0.
Boom.
Beat Simley 8-4. So shout out to those guys having a good start to the season. We're obviously cheering for them. Heading to Wednesday, yesterday. I think
Start at the top. Andover.
Yeah.
Andover. Hockey town, sports town. They love winning, and now it's transferring over to Lacrosse. Blaine, a team that's on the rise this year. having some close games. Andover beats them. This would not have happened when one of Katie's best friend's husbands was on the staff. They got rid of Jake. Now they're winning lacrosse games. It was the best decision Andover ever made. Now they're winning lacrosse games. Watch out, Andover, Sportstown.
Yeah, and good fight by Blaine. Honestly, they struggled against Edina early in their first game, but they've played 2 competitive games kind of within their section. I don't know where they'll end up getting seeded, but if they see these teams again, I think there's positive signs that they can run with Andover and Centennial and some of these other teams in the section. So, Andover was a team that we felt like it was their section this year to lose. And they got a big win against Blaine, here early in the season.
Was this a hockey game or a lacrosse game? I know 2 hockey towns. I know they're hockey towns, Goltz. Duluth, Marshall, Cloquet. For all I know, they've got 3 feet of snow, and that could have had a part into it. I don't know. I don't know what the weather was.
Is there still snow up there?
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. This was, I guess, the beginning of this week. I don't know. I don't know what the conditions were. I don't know what the factors are. 3-2, you don't see that score every day.
Definitely keeps everyone on their toes, for sure. Parents excited, players excited, keep them in the mix the whole game. So
last game of the night, New Prague, Lakeville South. New Prague has been on kind of the wrong side of this one. They've been a neck at neck. They ran into each other late in the season in sections. I'm not sure if this is a rival or not per se, but I know New Prague. I do some stuff in the offseason. I know they had this one circled. I know that they wanted this one, and they came out and took care of business.
Yeah, shout out to them. We heard about it on Instagram after. At least me, I picked a couple teams, Lakeville South and Rochester, over them preseason. They have taken care of business against Lakeville South and Rochester in their first 2 games of the year. So tip of the cap. Hey, we say prove it. They proved it. Those are big section wins for New Prague. As we get later in the season, depending on how records shake out, they can look back to that and have some objective arguments for being ahead of those teams in the section tournament. So big wins for them early in the year.
All right, now we get to Thursday, and I was gonna tread lightly. I was gonna tread lightly on the cancellations. I was gonna tread lightly on Chanhassen's alleged sewage issues because they built their field on top of a swamp. Again, just things I'm hearing. Chaska had a game tonight at Chaska High School. Why didn't we have our game tonight? Goltz?
Genuinely, I don't know. I said this in the Discord. I'll say it now. There's no way. I mean, I live in Arlington, Minnesota, so that's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. But it's not that far away from Chanhassen. I mean, I'm only a half an hour away. I'm not that far.
I'm not super far either.
So
I don't know. I don't know. Put your tinfoil hats on. I don't know what's going on here.
Their only fair argument is if their concessions were down and they knew I was coming. That's the only fair argument to cancel.
We'll have to get reports. Maybe that was their excuse. I don't know, but I'm mentally getting dialed up for this. I've got my goalie coach Mike Turnbull. He's having his afternoon espressos to be ready to go for the game time, and then you get the rug pulled at like 4:30. We're caffeinated. We're fired up. What are we gonna do? What do we do now?
That's just absolute psychopath behavior. Afternoon espressos.
He does espresso. I've got to do a nitro. Like you've got to lock in. We're grinding in corporate America, and then you've got to buy into the process. You start your day with caffeine. It's a whole nother day. It's a whole new day. It's another situation.
Are you manipulating time just like that guy on social media?
Oh yeah,
got 2 days manipulating time.
Yep.
My first day.
I have seen that. That's not where I was going with it, but if that's what we're doing here, that's what we're doing here.
My second day starts at 5.
Now I
I'm
sound like
manipulating.
probably just the biggest D-bag for
I'm
sounding like
manipulating.
this guy.
I'm manipulating time.
I'm not manipulating time. I'm just buying in to the process. I'm buying in. I'm just buying in. I'm all in.
Hey, energy starts at the top, right?
Yeah.
If you're not into it, the kids won't be into it. Um, yeah, not a lot of scores tonight. I think a couple games, blowouts. I know Stillwater and Cretan are playing right now. It sounded like that one was close currently, or last I heard. So, yeah,
Uh,
we'll
I
see.
want to. I want to say Minnetonka, St. Michael, Albertville ended 15-6. I'm
Yes.
not. It's
I
not
don't.
on Black Sub, but I'm pretty sure that was the
Yeah,
final
they were
score.
up big. I know Tonka was up big. I anticipate they won that game big. Wayzata 20-3 over Hopkins. Chaska 19-3 over Trimac. So a couple of kind of one-sided games. Let's look ahead to next week. Are we looking ahead to next week, or are we just recapping this week? We've gone
We
on
can.
for an hour, so I don't know if we want to keep going.
I mean, I I can't believe that we haven't talked about the Atterbury kid at Chaska just casually pulling up two behind the back split dodges in traffic against
Has that made our
against
DTA?
Hopkins.
Is that made Instagram or TikTok yet?
I'm not sure, but that was crazy. I just went and watched that game a little bit, and I know I sent it to you guys, but I was just like,
Yeah, we'll
ju-
post it.
just casually, just whipping out, like, I mean, it
No,
was
I mean,
premeditated. Got to go behind the back, just pulls it off twice.
yeah. I mean,
Fade away assist for a goal, unreal.
yeah, I mean, Chaska's sitting at 3-0 here. And only 2 games have been logged, but Atterbury, we've talked about him on the podcast. He's already got 21 points in two games played, 13 goals, 8 assists. So, yeah, I mean, he's their guy. The next guy has 9 points. So, um, yeah, super skilled player. Obviously doing behind the back split dodges.
Tomorrow, game of the night. I'm picking it. So Edina Maple Grove at Maple Grove. I think the heavy favorite is Edina. I think they're going to pull ahead early because it's being played at night, not in the morning.
Yeah, they look good. That offense looks dialed in, kind of mid-season, end of season form already. Saturday, not a ton of games on the slate.
I love the matchups though.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would say the game of the day is Prior Lake Stillwater, but I'm gonna fade that game. I'm going Chanhassen Buffalo. Those teams played some barn burners last year. Um, that's my game of the day. Chanhassen Buffalo.
I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I'm not sure where the people are right now, but I'm taking Bison Boulevard. It's in Buffalo. I feel like Buffalo's heating up a little bit. I like Buffalo in this one.
Buffalo had a game tonight, yeah.
I don't know if it got canceled or not, but
They
maybe.
were supposed to play Eden Prairie tonight. I don't know if it's getting played or not.
Okay, I want to say, yeah, I don't know if it got canceled. I was hoping that it did, because then if it did get played, I was gonna say Buffalo for sure. But I'm still gonna take Buffalo anyways in that game. Um,
I, I
right now,
yeah,
just
I
Chanhassen seems down.
I was very high on Buffalo early in the year in the Section 2 preseason rankings. And Chan does feel like they're down this year. I watched some tape of them. They're doing the right things. I think they're young. I think they got out athleted a little bit against St. Thomas, against some older guys. But they're doing the right things, at least on offense. That's kind of what I focus on. I'm gonna take Chanhassen in this one. I think they're gonna go into Bison Boulevard. I think they're going to shock the world on the road, get back in the win column. I'm going with Chanhassen Storm on Saturday.
I don't know. Buffalo 2-1. They're gonna have some rest here. Back at home now. They've been on the road. It should be a good game. I think it'll be a good game.
I think so too. I think so too. And I think they played two one-goal games. They played a regular season one-goal game and a section one-goal game last year. So I know that personnel changes and stuff, but it feels like it's always competitive. Looking to Monday.
I want to shout out matchups. We don't have to pick. I love the Irondale Blaine.
Yep.
I feel like that's a good matchup. Two teams that are kind of humming right now. Bloomington Jefferson Eastview. I think this is a game where two teams who like I need the real Slim Shady to stand up for these two teams.
Yep.
Where are they at? Who are they? I think this is a who are we game for these two teams. And then an up north battle, Moorhead Duluth, keeping it humming. What do we got Monday?
Yeah, Lakeville South, Northfield.
Yeah, that caught my
I
eye.
think that's a section
battle.
matchup, but their program that's been around in the past can't be taken lightly, and Northfield's just been on the rise. So I mean, I think that's a
Yeah.
talk about who are we games. I think that's a who are we game for both of those teams right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And Chan has another quick turnaround against Jefferson. That should be an interesting one as well. Kind of a conference battle. Tuesday, a lot of games, 23 games on the slate. Let's see here. What do we got?
You've got pretty good matchups up and down. Like you've got the Blue Bloods going. You've
Right
got
all of them.
like you've got kind of the up and comers going at it. I think you could go in a variety of different directions. One that stands out to me, Hudson and St. Thomas Academy. We just played Hudson OT game. Hudson coming over, playing a bunch of MN teams again this year. STA starting the season 2-0, I believe.
Yep.
Interested to see how these two kind of line up, as STA has played a couple teams that I'm about to play, and we just played Hudson, so kind of interested how that one turns out if I had to pick one.
The New Prague Waconia game catches my eye. I think both of those teams are
Waconia.
Waconia's an up and coming program. I haven't seen like them get tested so far this year. New Prague obviously did some damage to Lakeville South, but I think that will be a good matchup to look at.
Yeah, I think the game of the night, as far as like rankings are concerned, the nightcap, Minnetonka, Edina.
Yep.
Two teams that have high hopes this year. We've talked a lot about both programs. I think most people at this point can, kind of figure out like what that matchup means. It's a conference battle, big lake conference battle, two proud schools, rivalries maybe in other sports, but for sure two really good lacrosse teams going at it. That would be one. If you're a fan of just going to watch good lacrosse, that would be a game I would go to. One other game to shout out, we don't have to break it down, but Lakeville North and Shakopee. Shakopee has been a team that has played Lakeville North really strong and beat them a couple times, even, last year and in 2023 when they were the Electric Factory. Shakopee actually has always traditionally played them well. So I'll be interested to see what happens. Yeah, Wednesday. Only
one game stands out to me more than the others. Anoka Andover. Anoka right now 3-0.
Yeah,
3-0.
Yep.
Andover, as we've said, buzzing. Is Anoka for real? I think Andover's for real. How real is Anoka? I think we find out on Wednesday.
It sounds like Anoka's got a good group of seniors. They're athletic. They're gritty. They're going to give you 48 minutes. And they're taking care of business. The Tornadoes, great mascot.
Great mascot. Thought we were going to have one today.
Yeah.
Didn't they have one in Chan?
Yeah. No, I think this is a great matchup on Wednesday. I think if Anoka, I wouldn't even say if they win this game, if they compete in this game, 1 or 2 goals, I think we have to start talking about Anoka.
I would agree.
For real in Section 7.
I would agree with you on that. 100. I would definitely agree with you on that.
Dude, fun fact about Anoka. I don't know if you guys know this, but like Anoka, I found this out. is the Halloween capital of the world.
Wow. Did
I
not.
don't need to move there then. I crossed it off
Hopefully.
the list of places I would move to. I don't need to move to that. I don't need that energy. I don't need Halloween energy in my life. Don't need it. On to Thursday. If I had to pick one, it'd be Stillwater White Bear Lake at White Bear. White Bear hosting a bunch of lacrosse this year. New facilities or newer facilities. Stillwater White Bear Lake. Can White Bear Lake make this one interesting?
I feel like they always do against Stillwater.
I
I feel like this
agree.
game
And
is
I don't know how.
I feel like this game is always interesting. I believe talking to a Stillwater parent last year, I believe this is a very big, just school rivalry game, big night. It's like going to be youth. They always make like youth night this night. Like this is a game that gets circled on the calendar. I think probably stems from maybe hockey, or football or some of the other sports. But two, really good programs on the east side. I think this one will. I don't know. I don't know. It seems like it's always closer than I anticipate. I don't know if I can take White Bear in this. I think Stillwater, um, I think they'll win, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's interesting.
Another game that I think will be interesting for similar reasons is your game, Northfield Farmington.
Yep.
I've seen you two play. On paper, you might think Farmington and maybe Farmington by a handful plus, and it seems to never really work out that way, or at least work out that way easily. It's just a headache
Yeah,
of a
no,
game.
they always play us tough, and I feel like it's always a pretty hard fought game. Coach Nick is there now, running their defense. So I'll be excited to see what he's got. Kind of have to go against his defense and my offense. So that'll be fun. It's always a good matchup, and it's a section matchup. So both teams are competing for potential, section seeding implications. So you got to leave it out there.
Not so much super lacrosse related, but Chanhassen Orono. I know I've been very high on Chanhassen's concessions. Now, Orono, we're not going to be at Orono for this game. It's at Chanhassen. But rumor is, Ted, we've got cheese curds at Orono.
Yeah, got a parent texted and said cheese curd sighting, cheese curd tasting at Orono. He was at the girls' Orono Wayzata game that we had mentioned earlier in the show. Um, on the rubric, we talk about signature items. Uh, Getting the deep fryer going in the concession stand, like that's a commitment. You got to have like someone manning that and like cleaning it out and um it can be a mess. It can be a lot of, I mean, it's not something that's easy to just like grab and go, right? So like you got to have a squad like ready to rock that thing.
I may have to make a long trip up to Orono
Yeah.
to give them a true score off of the rubric.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think we got a battle of the concessions here, and I don't know, cheese curds. If you've got cheese curds, like you said, whipping up the deep fryer, um, yeah, that's a lot of that's something to stand behind.
Yeah.
So
And
like when you're coming into Chanhassen, who's the gold standard for high school concessions, like they're coming in, they're fighting. I think they've got something to fight for here.
yeah, and I mean by we I mean you gave Chan a really high score because of their commitment to the operations and the equipment that they have to produce good food. The grills, the Blackstone, whatever they got going. This is kind of another avenue, a little bit different route, but it's still kind of a similar idea, like you said. Yeah, maybe I'll have to go up there for an Orno game, and check it out with you.
Well, that does it. Looking at last week's game, previewing the upcoming games, we had, you know, coffee storylines, we had rainouts, we had a little bit of everything this last week. This upcoming week, great matchups, some classics, some blue bloods, and maybe a couple of who are we games and matchups we want to keep an eye on if a couple teams are for real or not.
Yep.
exciting as always. It's wide open. I feel like we're still figuring out who's for real, and maybe who's not there yet. I feel like it's wide open at this point on the boys and girls side, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it'll be interesting to see as some of these games get played and teams start to figure it out. It's kind of that race to June. So, yeah, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Keep following us on social media. We're posting a lot of content there. We got some cool content creators kind of partnering with us this spring. And it's really cool to see the work that they are doing. We got rankings coming on Sunday night. So make sure to check those out. And shout out to our sponsors, Old Southern Barbecue, ES Lacrosse. They've been riding with us from the get-go. So thanks to them. And we will catch you next week for more breakdowns of games and crazy stuff that's going to happen over the next 7 days.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to the sponsors, and look forward to being back next week.
Are you looking for a dedicated partner for your lacrosse needs? ES Lacrosse has got you covered. If you're brand new to the game, a seasoned vet, or a dedicated lacrosse parent, ES Lacrosse is the go-to partner for Minnesota lacrosse and DTA Nation. Whether you need new gear, a restringing of your current setup, custom uniforms or apparel for your team, or one of their awesome starter sets for your brand new lacrosse player, the selection, expertise, and service at ES Lacrosse is unmatched. You can visit them in store at one of their 3 metro locations in Woodbury, Chanhassen, and Vadnais Heights, or visit them online at eslacrosse.com. Hey, DTA Nation, with the spring season right around the corner, that means it's time to start planning those grad parties. Old Southern Barbecue has great catering options for your senior. You can go with the barbecue staples like wings, ribs, or barbecue sandwich sliders, but they even have an incredible mac and cheese bar option as well. Congrats to all the seniors from DTA and OSB as you head into the final chapter, and go to oldsoutherncatering.com to get your grad party planning underway. And make sure to tell them that DTA sent you.